Joining us now for World Brief is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi Akinsanya.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Oh, welcome back. It's so good to hear your voice. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Yeah.
Great.
So what do you have
Good
for
morning
us
to
today?
you, Ayo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Rufai.
In it.
Let me tell you what I have for you. Our location is a little bit different, as you can see. We're in West London. We are at the axis of North Kensington and Ladbroke Grove. This is one of the many entry points to the Notting Hill Carnival because today is Bank Holiday Monday in the United Kingdom. And as we know, Bank Holiday Monday in late August means Carnival Monday. So here we are on the streets. It's very, very, very early moments, but you will still be able to see the preparations taking place. Over my shoulder, you've got lots of tractors that will have the bands playing, getting ready to start gearing up. And then over my shoulder, you've also got the likes of lots of different Caribbean and African food being prepared. You've got a super malt stand there, a stand that says that it's not carnival without super malt. So again, a lot of jubilation, a lot of happiness. If you keep your eyes peeled, you should be able to see a few fine girls walking by in their beautiful carnival outfits. I posted a few on my Instagram stories because they were just so gorgeous not to. But it is definitely a day of jubilation. The Notting Hill Carnival is a stalemate of Black British culture, especially Caribbean and Indo-Caribbean culture in the United Kingdom. It's a coming together of music, of dance, but also unity and social solidarity that we see happening every single year in West London, this year not being any different. So despite the happiness and the jubilation that we're seeing and that we have seen over the course of the 2 days, Sunday is what we call the first day of Carnival. Is Children and Family Day. So that is a day where you're expecting definitely a lot of adults, a lot of music and a lot of dancing, but it's slightly calmer because you have the presence of younger children and young families taking advantage of the festivities on the Sunday. And then Monday is when everybody really comes out to shake their stuff and have a great time. Now, despite the happiness that we're seeing that we associate with Notting Hill Carnival, unfortunately, I do have some negative news coming out of there. As we know, just yesterday, at yesterday's installation of the carnival, a 29-year-old woman was stabbed and she remains in life-threatening condition. The Metropolitan Police say that they are also aware of 2 other people being stabbed during yesterday's festivities at the carnival, those including a 29-year-old man and another 24-year-old man. So again, it does put a little bit of a downer and does re-echo the call of security in this city. London, the United Kingdom definitely, but surely London has a huge knife crime problem, and unfortunately we saw it rear its ugly head at the festivities yesterday. That being said, the Metropolitan Police has deployed 7,000 members of staff to be patrolling these festivities, as they are expecting in excess of 1 million people to join the streets of West London in participation of the Notting Hill Carnival over the course of these 2 days. So that's what we're seeing so far. That's why we're here, just to bring a little bit of British culture back to you in Nigeria. But as always, there's a lot happening on the international scene, and I do want to bring your attention to some US politics. Of course, last week we spent a huge amount of attention and time at the DNC. Our colleagues Faith Orr and Adesua Osage did a wonderful job covering the DNC, and we know that it was time for a lot of former presidents, a lot of politicians, celebrities, but also Kamala Harris and her running mate formally accepting their party's nomination to be the presidential and vice presidential candidates for the party. But let's not forget that Donald Trump definitely took that opportunity to campaign aggressively. And we have been hearing now that the Trump-Vance campaign says it will continue to step up. Last week alone, the Trump-Vance campaign made an appearance in every single battleground state, every last one of them. In fact, their appearances in the last week alone were more than the past 20 months of this election cycle. Just to give you a bit more background into how seriously the Trump-Vance campaign is taking this, definitely just a few weeks ago, perhaps they may have felt that they were in a bit of a comfortable position, thinking that they were going up against Joe Biden. But since the tide has changed, and in these short 3 to 4 weeks, we're seeing that Kamala Harris, of course, taking the helm, has chosen a running mate, has had a largely successful DNC. You can imagine that the fight really is on with the Trump-Vance campaign. And talking about this fight being on, RFK Jr. did in fact pull out. We had speculated that that might be the case last week. He did pull out of the presidential race, and he has now thrown his weight behind Donald Trump, endorsing him as his preferred candidate. Now, RFK Jr.'s brother himself said that he wasn't too happy to hear that his brother had gone from being a staunch Democrat to becoming the independent candidate to then endorsing a Republican representative there. So those are the issues that we're seeing when we're looking at the political scene over in the United States. But again, I do have a few more stories for you before I come back to you for comment. Unfortunately, the Israel-Hamas war has not abated. In fact, situations have continued to escalate. We did hear that in areas of Tel Aviv, sirens are being held, and though rockets had been sent from Hamas's side in Gaza into Tel Aviv, there were no casualties or fatalities reported at this moment. But of course, when we know that both sides have been exchanging heavy fire, this is something that has definitely contributed to the major death toll that we've been seeing in Gaza and across Palestinian lines. Talking about that to that extent, we do know that Lebanon is also very much involved in this conflict, and the exchange of fire between Israel and Lebanon has continued to escalate over the weekend into this week. We did talk about this last week, about the ramifications this conflict has on African populations, on domestic staffers from the African continent who are struggling to leave Lebanon at this time of war because of the kafala system here. So here we are seeing that the conflict in the Middle East does continue to be escalating, despite conversations and some speculation that perhaps Benjamin Netanyahu and representatives from Hamas were on the brink of some form of a ceasefire deal. It's not what we're seeing just yet, but that being said, we will move on now to Venezuela. And in Venezuela, their Supreme Court, their highest court in the country, has upheld Nicolas Maduro's victory. You'll know that he had already proclaimed that he was the victor, securing his third 6-year presidential term. But his political rivals, the people who went up against him, believed that that wasn't the case, and they had been calling for him to release election materials to show the true winner of this election. And what we are seeing is this court come out to defend and uphold Maduro's victory. But we do know that the United Nations have actually come out to express some form of concern with this court, with the fact that there does seem to be some connection between, of course, the presidential situation in the country and this court, with reports of direct messages being exchanged between people privy to the presidency and members of this court here. So Nicolas Maduro, more than anybody, will definitely be the one celebrating at this point in time, being that his election victory has been confirmed and upheld by this court. And it's important to note that the court said that this decision is not up for appeal, that it is the final situation, that Nicolas Maduro will be reinstalled as the president of Venezuela. And before we go, just last week we were discussing about the strenuous tensions between Nigeria and South Africa. We saw them amalgamate in this Bolt fiasco, where you had people in South Africa call on Bolts in Nigeria and then cancel them, and vice versa. And that just leading to a loss of productivity across both countries. And you do have representatives of the Nigerian community in South Africa saying that this is not a way to foster relations, that this type of xenophobic tirade between the two countries doesn't serve any material purpose. So that is the wrap of what we've got here for you today. A whole lot to discuss. What's happening in the United States, what we're seeing with Donald Trump escalating his own policy strategy, of course seeing this issue taking place with Venezuela. And let us not forget that it is, of course, Carnival Monday here in London. Back to you in the studio.
Real quickly, couple of things. See, I pretty much see what is happening in Venezuela as what has happened before. That time it was the case of Guaido. It's just going to pan out for some while. In fact, even that time, close to 50 to 60 countries recognized Guaido as the official president of Venezuela. But guess what happened in the end? Nicolas Maduro still stayed on. Now that the court has ratified, it's going to be a very big problem. All of this, why they do all of this shenanigan, the Venezuelans are still suffering. An average Venezuelan is losing close to 5 kg in body weight, sometimes because they can't afford food to eat. And that's how bad it is. And that's why most of them are pouring out of the borders and going to other countries. Very sad what happened in Notting Hill Carnival yesterday. I just hope that that lady makes it true. Thirdly, the case of RFK. I'm not surprised. Because prior to this time, RFK was even begging Kamala if she was going to give him a job in administration for her to be able to join. So it was the line of best fit for him. And the Trump that promised him, I just hope Trump makes good on his promise. Secondly, this RFK is known to be a big conspiracy theorist. This RFK abused Trump in the past. This RFK doesn't believe in modern science. He didn't believe in vaccination. And there are many problems that come with him. In fact, 5 of his family members have spoken against him. They said that they are disappointed. The RFK lineage is not in support of what he has done. His family was disappointed. So he was about for his own gains in the end. He just led Americans on like a snake-oil salesman and conned them in the end and went to Donald Trump because it was his line of best feats. That does not represent what the Kennedy family that fought so hard for America stand for.
Well, RFK himself has said that even within the family, they should be able to support any political party they choose and still maintain the love within the family. As you've mentioned, his siblings, Max Kennedy being very prominent amongst that, even though he's much younger than RFK, has come out to say that this does not in any way align with his father's legacies, and that the fact that he carries that name, Robert F. Kennedy, is a weight, it's a legacy in itself, and to see that legacy being thrown behind the campaign of the Republican candidate, Donald Trump, was sad to see. But let's see, their family members will sort themselves out in the end, but they've said they're staunch supporters of Kamala Harris, and even drew inference between Kamala herself and Robert F. Kennedy, saying that they were both attorneys at different, prosecutors at different times. So, just drawing those inferences and saying that their dad would have been proud of her candidature. So, speaking very clearly that the Robert F. Kennedy senior family are backing, the Democratic Party nomination of Kamala Harris. But let's go on to Notting Hill, where the Notting Hill sun looks good on you, Femi. And I see that a number of people who are gearing up for the Carnival Day 2 are looking to get into your picture, into the Arise, news broadcast. And so hello to them there. Those who are watching are just trying to make hands signals. I can't blame them. But it's really sad to hear that such a carnival that's meant to bring, unite especially along the line of race and ethnicity is being turned into this. But no surprises there. In the last 2 years, we've had about 500 arrests at Notting Hill Carnival. We've had 1 death from a stabbing. And again, this brings to light the challenge or the plague of stabbing incidents in the United Kingdom. And the fact that it doesn't seem to be abating. And when we see gatherings like this, which is the largest, possibly the largest carnival in the United Kingdom, you will have bad eggs, people who are coming not just for altruistic reasons. Now, Section 60 was enforced last night, which means that the police can ask people who have their faces covered to uncover in the interest of public safety, which is a good move and, very prompt move by the government itself. But let's hope that Day 2 is more peaceful and we don't see incidents like this.
Well, the Notting Hill Carnival was introduced in the 1960s, and the main objective was to promote social inclusion, social cohesion, and it is rated as the biggest community-based, community-centered event in the world, perhaps the largest. But this year, we have had the unfortunate incident of about 15 police officers being assaulted, persons being stabbed, 3 specifically, a 29-year-old woman, a 24-year-old man, and another, a man who are in critical condition or they are in hospital as a result of this. 7,000 policemen have been deployed to ensure peace and security in this event. But, it comes against the background of the recent protests in England. And the hope was that, look, this will reinforce that idea about social cohesion, about inclusion in the United Kingdom. But we have had this unfortunate incident. 1 million people are expected to take part in this bank holiday event. But we hope that there will be no further escalation. And talking about escalation, let's go to the Middle East. Yeah, you talked about the Middle East. The fear is that there could be an all-out war. The other side of it is that people are saying, well, there may not be an all-out war. The worst that we have seen is, the Hezbollah making its point, attacking Israel with about 320 rockets, and the Israeli Defense Forces responding with about 100 jets, targeting about 41 sites on the Lebanese side. At the end of the day, three persons died, on the Lebanese side. But some people say, well, if we listen to Nasrallah, who is the spokesperson for Hezbollah, he says they've made their point, and that there may be no further reactions. But Netanyahu says this is not the end of the story. And why is it not the end of the story? I think diplomacy will kick in. US, UK, France, they are calling for restraint. Two, there's also the unresolved issue of the ceasefire agreement. Yesterday, the meeting in Egypt ended in a deadlock because the Israelis are saying, even when the war is over, they want to control the border between Gaza and Egypt, to which Hamas is not agreeing. And then, of course, you have Iran. Iran says, yeah, Hezbollah may have reacted over the killing of Fuad Shukr, in July, but that they too will still retaliate. So there's a lot on the plate, on the international scene. As for Trump will remain Trump. Whether Robert Kennedy steps down in Arizona and in Wisconsin this week, the Trump strategists are looking for a way to respond to the promise of change and hope that Kamala Harris was able to establish in the just concluded Democratic National Convention. So we're going to see the Republicans going to Michigan, going to Wisconsin, going to Pennsylvania this week. But you see, Trump will be Trump. He will abuse people. He will tell a lot of lies. There will be a lot of falsehoods. But we look forward to what will happen on November 5. Definitely, what is clear is that the game has changed in the American election process. And, the field is different now. It's not enough to say Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe is out of the way. There's a new momentum. But we'll see how that pans out.
Well, thank you very much, Adefemi, for bringing us the World Brief this morning. Enjoy Carnival Day 2. We look forward to getting all the details tomorrow morning live. And let's see you dancing a little, hopefully.